Let's see if there is anything else in here. This is clear, I hope. Let me know. Is this clear? Okay. Same thing. Clear this one. Okay. Now, let's look at one of these problems. Let's say part C, the -5 and -9. Okay, so now, what happens here? First, by the order of operations, I have to multiply. Again, this is not a grouping symbol. You can say, but it is. I know it is. But in this case, it's not a grouping symbol because I did not have anything, I didn't have an example like that. I did not have anything to perform inside. So the only thing is the grouping symbol here just separates these two operation symbols. That's all it does. But I have to multiply -1 by -9. And when I do that, I get a positive number. So this is -5 plus 9. I owe you $5. I obtained 9 somehow. I'll give you the money back, and I am still left with $4. So when we add numbers that I have opposite signs, here's how we think. And I want to give you a couple of examples here. We already seen -5, -4. I owe you 5. I beg for 4 more. So now I'm 9 in minus. But what happens if I have 9 minus 4? That's easy. From 9, I subtract 4, and I get 5. But what happens if I have -9 plus 4? How do I think in this situation? Here's how I think. Which of these two numbers has a more powerful absolute value? And you can say, absolute value? What are you talking about? This one in absolute value is 9. This one in absolute value is 4. So then this one is more powerful. Therefore, the final answer will be negative. So how do I know that the answer is negative? I'm analyzing these numbers in absolute value in my head. If I had the absolute value of -9, the answer would be 9. If I had the absolute value of 4, the answer would have been 4. Which of these two is more powerful? 9 is more powerful. So the sign that 9 has in front will be transferred to the final answer because it has more power than the other one. So now I know the answer. So now in my head, I will perform 9 minus 4. I will not perform -9 plus 4. I already established the sign. And now I know it's 9 minus 4, so it has to be 5 with a minus in front. That was established from the very beginning. Good. Stop me if you have questions. Okay. Good. So these are exactly the same idea. Nothing special to talk about here, unless you stop me, and I'll stop if there is anything else. Okay, so now we see 3 numbers. Here's how we work on 3 numbers, or 4. So let me copy this, -6 plus 15 minus 10 plus -9. Okay. So here is my suggestion. First of all, get rid of these symbols. Again, it's not a grouping symbol. It only separates 2 operation symbols. So get rid of it first. So -6 plus 15 minus 10 minus 9. Because a +1 invisible, +1 in front, a positive times a negative is a negative. Here's what I recommend next. Perform these operations because you know that the answer will be negative. They're all negative. So I owe you 6, I beg for 10, now I'm 16 in minus, then I beg for 9, so I know that this is -25. So now I owe you 25. I copy the 15, and now I'm back to the previous situation. Which of these two is stronger? A negative 25 is stronger, so I know the answer would be negative. And now I perform in my head 25 minus 15, which is negative 10. Any questions on this?
I got a little small question. At the top, how did the well not where you see the -4 plus 8 minus 3, I was wondering why did the -4 became a positive number when it came down?
The absolute value of negative 4 is the distance in units from 0 to negative 4. So the distance in units, or the absolute value from 0 to negative 4, is 4.
I see. And what happens if it's a positive number?
It's the distance between the positive number and 0.
And so it will become a -4?
But the distance can never be negative. Is the distance
Okay.
between where you're sitting and the door, is it negative 5 feet?
No, it's
No.
+5.
So the distance will never be negative unless there is a minus in front. If there is a minus in front, the answer can be negative.
I understood.
But otherwise, the absolute value of a number with nothing in front or positive in front will always be a positive number. Okay?
Understood.
Perfect.
Understood.
Now I wanted to show something quick with a graphing calculator. So let me share my screen again and we'll go to the graphing calculator. Now, when you do check your answers or you use the graphing calculator, and like in this example, I have to start with a negative symbol. When I start with a negative symbol, this is the negative symbol. This is the operational negative. So 6 minus 3, I have to use this operation symbol. But if I start with a negative, I have to use this symbol, -6, and then plus 15, and then minus 10, and then minus 9. So notice the difference. This is smaller than the other negatives. So when I click enter right now, I have to get -10. So let's see, I get -10. So I just wanted to point out that if you start with a negative, do you have to? No, you don't have to. You can just reverse them, positive 15 and then -6 and then -10. I'm using the commutative law of addition, and -9, and the answer has to be the same, as I didn't do anything. I just moved the position. In other words, I moved 15 in front of -6, but now I can no longer use this symbol, which is this minus, tiny minus. I cannot use that anymore because now I have to use an operational symbol, which is this. Any questions on this? Okay. I think we are possibly okay unless you... Okay, here's another one. Find the value of the missing number. What do you think the missing number would be? For -46, minus something to get 0. I'm going to write this down. So -46 minus whatever to get 0. So remember, only -46 plus 46 will be 0. This is carved in stone. But how do I get in here +46? Knowing that I cannot change this. There is an invisible -1 in front. If you don't want to think in terms of the invisible -1, you will say the opposite of this number. So that's another way. The opposite of this number, or you say there is an invisible -1, so -1 times this has to be -46. What do you think this number should be?
-46.
-46. Everybody agrees with -46? Because -1 times -46 will change into +46, and only two opposite numbers, when I add them, two opposite numbers will get us 0 when we add those. Any questions on this problem? Okay, so let's look at one more and then move on. Find the missing number. So let's see what else is in here. So you have examples for everything. Okay, good. So find the value of the missing number. This is basically something that we're going to deal with later. So -2 plus 8 plus x equals 20. This is how we are going to look at this type of problem as an equation. Notice that I replaced that question mark by a variable, and I denoted the variable by x, or I used x. You can use any variable. You can use y, you can use z, you can use a, you can use b, whatever you want. I chose to use x. X is customary. Okay, so one option here is, and I highly recommend it, simplify the left-hand side. So this is the left-hand side of the equation, and this is the right-hand side of the equation, and this is the equal symbol. An equation will always have one left-hand side, one right-hand side, and only one equal symbol. You cannot continue to the left or continue to the right. You have to write equations one below the other. So the left-hand side, I have -2 plus 8 or 8 minus 2. So now it's much easier to figure out what it is. Or, we know the answer already. Or say, I want to move this number to the other side in order to get x. But when you move a term, this is a term. When I move a term from one side to the other, the only thing that happens is it changes its sign. If there is no sign, it's positive. So when I move it to the other side, it becomes negative. So then I have 20 minus 6, and I know that x equals 14. The question mark here is it true? I don't know. I have no idea. But it's a piece of cake to go back and check. 8 minus 2 is 6. Is 6 plus 14 20? Is it? Is 6 plus 14 20? Good. So then I go back and I say, yes, I checked. Always very easy to go back and check. And you should always do that. Do we need to go over these steps one more time?
I have a question.
Yes, please.
How did you know to move your 6 to the right-hand side?
Excellent. Excellent question. The reason why I wanted to move 6 to the other side is because the question was to solve for x. In order to solve for x, I have to have x alone isolated on one side. In order to isolate x on one side, I had to somehow get rid of this. The only option in this case, because it's added, if it were multiplied, I would have done something else. But because it's added, I needed to move this term to the other side. Every time I move a term from one side to the other, it doesn't matter, from left to right or from right to left, the only thing that happens is we change its sign. It was positive, I move it to the other side, it becomes negative. So 20 minus 6 is 14. I got x equals 14. That's what they were asking me to find. Is it true? I don't know. It takes a blink to go back and put it in. 8 minus 2 is 6. 6 plus 14 is indeed 20. So I'm going to say this is it, and there is no other answer. Any questions? Good. So you are gaining way more knowledge than just adding and subtracting. So that's why I wanted everyone to pay attention. Let me know if you need to work on any of this. Okay, so now we want to use the commutative and associative laws to write 3 equivalent expressions. Okay, so let's do that. U plus V plus 4. So they want us to write 3 equivalent expressions using the commutative and associative laws. Okay, so let me refresh your memory. A plus B equals B plus A, commutative. A plus B parentheses plus C equals A plus parentheses B plus C, associative. We wrote them before. So what does this say? Commute. What does this say? Any grouping works. Here, any order works. Here, any grouping works. You can group the first 2 and add the third. You can group the first and the third and then add the second. Or you can group the last 2 and add the first. Order, not important. Grouping, not important. So, let's come up with 3. Can anyone suggest one of them?
4 plus parentheses A plus B.
Excellent. Excellent. So, what we did was we used the commutative law on these 2. Perfect, that's 1. Let's come up with a second one. Perfect.
Let me do another one.
Yep,
U plus parentheses 4 plus V parentheses.
very good. Either V plus 4, and here's the third one. Excellent. We already have 3. So we use the associative law by grouping differently. U alone and then V plus 4. And also the same thing, but we use the commutative law inside parentheses. So these are 3 different situations for the same problem. Very good. Any questions? Perfect. Good. See, there are so many different things that we need to discuss. We cut this from that. How much is left? I think that's clear. Okay. Okay, so let's take a look at this one. Let's see the last. Yep. So we want to talk about the perimeter as well. Good. So we have an airplane flying at 26,850 feet, and that's above ground, and is directly over a submarine that is 475 feet below sea level. What is the distance between a person in the plane and the person in the submarine? So, as they suggested to us, let's use a drawing. So we have 26,850 feet, and then we have negative 475 feet. So here's the airplane, and here's the submarine. How would I determine the distance? Of course, the vertical distance between a person here and a person here. And this is the vertical distance we are looking for. This one. That's the distance we want. How will we determine that?
Would it be 6,850 plus 475?
Exactly.
Same value.
Exactly. So we have 26,850 plus 475. That would be the distance between a person a person on the plane, in the plane, and a person in the submarine.
And just to confirm, you're taking absolute value of the negative number?
I'm determining the
Because it's measuring
distance.
distance?
Yes, I'm determining the distance,
Okay,
so it will
okay.
be the absolute value. Correct.
I understand.
Very good. So let's see what we get. So we have 5 and we have 2 and 1, 3 and 1. I think this is in feet. Good. So let's talk about the perimeter of a rectangle, 2 by 11. So let's talk about that. So what is the perimeter, for example, of a triangle? So let's say A, B, and C. Measure A, measure B, measure C. It's the distance all around. So this is A plus B plus C. For a rectangle, 2 by 11 feet, the formula is identical. So if this is A and this is B, then the formula for the perimeter for a rectangle is twice A plus twice B. If B is 2 feet and if A is 11 feet, then we have P equals 2 times 2 plus 2 times 11. Again, this involves order of operations, so I have to explain how we perform this. Do not try to add these two. By the order of operations, we have to perform multiplication first, and then addition. So when we multiply 2 by 2, we get 4. When we multiply 2 by 11, we get 22. And 4 plus 22 gives us a 26 feet parameter. Now you can say, you didn't have to do that. True. 2 plus 11 plus 2 plus 11 would have been good enough. And we would have obtained the same answer. But this is the formula for the perimeter of a rectangle. Twice the width plus twice the length.